gentlemen, welcome back to Power Vacuum. I'm your host, Belmont. And what might be one of the worst things I've heard about Cyberpunk since the Fat NPC update. For those of you that don't know, there was a point in Cyberpunk 2077's history when they made an update. I think it was like 1.5 or 1.6. I don't remember exactly which one, but they made a lot of the NPCs overweight. And there was a time when I would say maybe less than 10% of the NPCs were overweight. And then after the update, it was probably more like 60% were overweight. And it seemed they reduced the amount of variance in the NPCs. Like a lot of NPCs just look the same in the game after that, where they used to be very widely different and a very broad spectrum of NPCs. I don't know. I don't know what the point of the update was. A lot of people praised it because they said it was more immersive. Where I thought it was less immersive because I got the impression that in Night City people were on the brink of starvation. And yes, there's low quality food, and yes, when you have low quality food, obesity tends to increase, but that's when people can afford the food. And most of the people in Night City seemed like they were starving or too poor to be able to eat regular meals, which would make them thinner in general. But that's not what I'm here to talk about. We got this report from Claus Gamer with some what I consider to be pretty terrible news. Unlike Cyberpunk 2077, Cyberpunk 2 is using procedural generation. Now, for world building, great. I'm not going to jump right into the article because I want to complain about why this is a bad idea, in my opinion. Night City is almost a character in and of itself because it was so well made and so detailed that you can jump in the game and go to the same location at the same time and visit things and see interactions and unique areas, unique dialogue, unique characters that were key to specific places. Now, if the world becomes procedurally generated, that means basically every person is going to have a different experience when they play this game. Um, if it's gonna work that way. I haven't read the article yet, so we'll dive into it and see if maybe there's specific aspects that'll be procedurally generated. But if the city itself is procedurally generated, it's gonna suck, in my opinion. I don't want to load up and every game be different when I'm playing in a place where the setting is supposed to be a specific location. Right. I want Night City to look like Night City. And I want Vice City to look like Vice City. I don't want it to be ever shifting and ever changing because of procedural generation. So hopefully it'll be maybe the characters or the NPCs are procedurally generated. Perhaps like quests will be procedurally generated. But let's find out what exactly this is. It's been a while since we last heard about Cyberpunk 2077 sequel, but some news has finally come out. Unlike Cyberpunk 2077, where made where majority of the game was handcrafted without PCG elements, Cyberpunk 2 will be using procedurally generating generation to build cities, characters, interiors, and environments, and that's what I was afraid of. Making your game handcrafted gives it a very unique feel, a very lived in feel. It lets everyone experience the same game, but then they can share their experiences and see how different things played out because of their characters' choices and their actions and where they found certain things. When you found something cool in Night City, you could go on Reddit or a forum and you could say, "Hey, I found this thing here, go check it out," and other people could do it. They're taking that away from players. They're taking away the sense of community and the sense of like camaraderie and brotherhood you get when you can talk to other characters or not characters, other players and share experiences. But let me get back into this article. To what extent they are using PCG tools is unclear, but a recent job listing for the studio confirms the fact that Cyberpunk 2, aka Project Orion, won't be 100% handcrafted, which is fine. No, I disagree. Okay, so I don't fully disagree. I want the city to be handcrafted. I want the locations to be handcrafted. If you procedurally generate people or characters, that's cool because that means when you go to a city, you're never going to see the same person on the same street corner. right? Unless they're a crazy person on the street corner doing something, but that's irrelevant. It makes sense for characters to be procedurally generated in within the city for the directions in which you need to go for a quest to be procedurally generated. If you're chasing a car down, it's not going to always start in the same spot. It could be driving around, it could be in a different area. That's fine. But if they're actually going to procedurally generate locations, it just changes too much. So where was I? And if you were wondering why I'm calling it Cyberpunk 2, it's because CD Projekt Red is calling it Cyberpunk 2. It seems to be another internal project name for the sequel. Will they officially call it Cyberpunk 2? I highly doubt it. Now back to the job listing. Yeah, they'll probably call it like Cyberpunk 2081 or 2085 or whatever year the game is supposed to take place in, much similar to this was called Cyberpunk 2077, or as some people call just 2077, because you say 2077 in a video game form, people are most likely going to know you're talking about Cyberpunk. Here's the listing. CD Projekt Red is looking for a lead PCG tools engineer to join our office in Boston to work on Cyberpunk 2, the follow up to Cyberpunk 2077. Is in this role, you will lead the Orion team responsible for developing procedural tools to enable designers and artists to deliver on the vision of the game. In this job, you will lead and manage the Orion team to develop procedural tools, including generation of cities, environments, interiors, characters to help design, and artists deliver vision of the game. Programming will also be required. This means that CD Projekt Red is building internal systems that use procedural techniques to generate urban layouts, city blocks, streets, buildings, create interior spaces like apartments, offices, and shops. See, now the interior spaces things doesn't bother me as much. It does bother me a little because, you want to be able to say, hey, go check out whatever mega building 3 and go to the second floor and look at this apartment. Well, now you can't do that anymore because it'll be different. So that's kind of cool how I'm at odds and ends with this. I do like the idea of the inside of apartments being different, but again, it takes away from the community being able to share things and experiencing things with each other. Uh, Possibly assemble NPCs or crowds dynamically, clothing, animations, routines, which is what I want. That's what I want procedural generation to be used for. The people within the city, the vehicles within the city, where they're at, what they're doing. That's like peak usage of it. You build a solid framework of the city, and then you throw random people in there with procedural generation. Then speed up world building without handcrafting every element. While PCG tools are often used during development, it doesn't necessarily mean the gameplay will feel randomized or roguelike. Many studios like Rockstar, Ubisoft, and CD Projekt Red use PCG behind the scenes to assist world building while keeping a handcrafted feel in the final product. Okay, so that's something I didn't really know about. You procedurally generate the city and then affix it to a specific design. Like you take what the procedural generation made and then you lock that in place. That I can get behind. That's fine. I don't care about that. Seems like AI assisted world building, but you know, I'm pretty sure a lot of people are fighting against that. But hey, it's a different world we live in. Um, what this also means is that the open world we can expect to see in Cyberpunk 2 could be far bigger than the one we had in Cyberpunk 2077. Why the change though? Back in 2019, CD Projekt Red said they believe building quality worlds through manual labor. They did say this. To compare 2077 to The Witcher 3, let's say that the world of the latter was very vast in its length. It was an open world made of very large natural landscapes. Going from point A to point B took a lot of time because you were riding, but also because it was a game that stretched horizontally. The world of Cyberpunk 2077 is, above all, a vertical world with buildings everywhere, and in this, it is difficult for us to establish a metric comparison. The game will allow you to enter many buildings knowing that everything was done by hand because we believe that quality comes first through manual creation. Nothing is procedural in our world. It is in this that the city of Night City will be vast to go thanks to this verticality. Here's a bonus. A second job listing claims that the devs are building emotional, action packed open world experience that will stay with gamers for a long time. You will help push the envelope for immersive games in the Cyberpunk universe, creating an emotional, action packed open world experience that will stay with gamers for a long time. As an engineering director, you'll combine your leadership skill with your deep technical expertise to shape the future of our engine systems, driving innovation and delivering unforgettable gaming experience. So they're hiring for two jobs: a engineering director and a lead procedural generation and tools engineer. But yeah, I hope the game isn't procedurally generated as you play it, kind of like how No Man's Sky is. If they are going to use it, I hope they're using it, as the article said they could, to build the city during production, during designing and, coding, to get a city with minimal work and then affix the city into a permanent state. That way, everyone can have shared experiences. That way, every time you boot up a new character, a new game, you can, find certain things in certain places and get familiar and learn the city. Because if it's procedural, you'll never learn the city. You'll learn the city on your playthrough, but then you won't learn it on your next playthrough. You have to learn a whole new city. And part of the fun of the original 2077 was learning the city. It's its own character and it has its own place in video games. But yeah, that's all I have for this article. This is your host Belmont, signing out.